Hello, my friend, and welcome to another week of the Astrology of 2021. Thanks for coming. As always, I wish you well, and I thank you for listening in. If you would like to, you can send any amount of money to Cash App, $Henry L. Harrison, and I'll receive it immediately. That would be so appreciated. And so, thank you for coming to listen, and we're going to get right into it. Before we begin, I want to thank God for His wisdom and understanding that we can look into the mysteries of His heaven and contemplate them to the glory of His name in Jesus Christ. Amen. So, hope you have a glorious Resurrection Day today. It's Resurrection Day. But in the astrology, there's not much going on this week overall. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to think about Mars square Neptune, and we're going to read a little bit about that in another book on this video. But really, this week doesn't have a lot going on. It's, the last phase of the moon before the new moon, and there really isn't that much. It's mostly moon stuff. So we're just going to take a look starting now. So the moon made the square to the sun and Venus this morning, and they are making an application to Pluto. So the rest of the day, could get, a little darker, a little bit more with a Pluto theme in it before the conjunction. So definitely expect that. I mean, we've done this so many times. And the only other aspect I think with the moon day is the sextile to Neptune. So a little bit dreamy, connected to power issues. Don't make any shortcuts. If you do something, do it right. Do it the right way. Get your ego out of the way, I think, is the main thing with this Capricorn moon stuff here. So by the next morning, April 5th, so on Monday, tomorrow, by the morning the moon will be in Aquarius and making that sextile over to Mercury I think around noon, and be applying to Saturn all day and the square to Uranus. I think it perfects the square to Uranus first. So yeah, the square to Uranus and then the conjunction to Saturn. So we've seen these themes. We know what this is about. It's connected to digital money. It's connected to these different kinds of resources. It's a challenge aspect. If people put too much money in their NFTs, it might all be super problematic at this time. Just the difference, the unexpected, the new, that stuff will be coming out in a challenging sort of way with a restrictive background energy, very individualistic at this time. So, do your thing, do what you can at this time. So, the Venus will perfect the sextile to Mars in this morning, and it looks like this Uranus Saturn theme will pretty much wrap up by the time we wake up if you live in this part of the world. So we may not even see much of it except maybe on the news later on. But Venus and Mars will be in a good alignment, and they've been building up to it for a while. So Venus is in Mars's house, Mars is in Mercury's house, and Mercury is in Mars's house. So it could be a really good day overall. It just looks really nice after all that. Probably still be pretty, individual feeling. But I think we will be able to work in if you've been developing a new way of doing things wherever Saturn is in your chart, it looks like it'll go really well on this day in general if you just kind of play with those Saturn themes. Saturn doesn't really play, but if you respect those Saturn themes and, if you're looking to do some work, it looks like work and pleasure could be really, really tuned in at this point. But kind of still, letting go. The moon's in the best alignment it can be with this letting go process. So overall, it looks like a pretty nice day. On the 6th, on Tuesday. Okay, so, could get a little, in the late evening on Monday to the morning of Tuesday, it could be a little cold, a little extra cold, a little extra difficult with the shocking news stuff that Uranus can be. But overall, it looks pretty good, and the moon will be applying to that conjunction to Jupiter by the end of the day, into the morning. But the moon will be going void, of course, after that, so I would be careful not to go too big. We might wake up and we feel like we should be going big, and it kind of plays out the rest of the day like that. It's kind of what I expect. But yeah, the moon will be void all day, so until it gets into Pisces around 3. So, the void moon's not necessarily bad. It's not void off of a hard angle, so it could be pretty benefic all day. And once it gets into Pisces, it'll be a little bit more mystical. So, okay. So we see now that Venus is starting to apply the square to Pluto. So I don't think that comes out, well, yeah, I don't think that comes out this week, but it will be coming out soon, within a few days. So Venus will be in that square to Pluto, and Mars will be building up this square to Neptune by about now. So definitely be looking out for that. People will be trying to, if these themes are connected, Venus is in a good alignment with Mars, but they're both at a hard angle to the outer planets. So you see, that's not until Sunday. I feel like there'll be some difficulty with obscure energies. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? In both of where we're finding value, where we're bringing enjoyment in our lives, and where we're getting the work done, where we're just chugging along, basically. Both those areas are going to be working together really well, but they have their own problems to cope with. So that's that. But on the 8th, on what day is that? Thursday. The moon isn't doing very much. It's just making a T-square to the nodes and making that sextile to Uranus in the morning. So, an opportunity to do some fateful actions around this, whatever Uranus and Taurus is doing in your chart. For better or worse. So, but I think if you really did the Saturn thing basically, and you kind of just let the Uranus thing kind of roll on earlier this week, there might be a good opportunity here, because the moon will be going into a good alignment to Saturn too. So I would expect that sort of fateful thing to be coming in. So it might be a good time to make an investment, that one that Saturn will agree with. So I feel like, there'll be a way to balance that out in a Pisces way between Saturn and Uranus at that time. So we get into the 9th, and I think, this is the day that the moon will conjoin Neptune and make that square to Mars with Mars square Neptune. So, all right, before I say anything about this, let's just read Robert Hand's book about it. Let's just see what this book says. Now, this book is for transits to natal charts, but I find that Robert Hand is a very wise person, the late Robert Hand, and he wrote this book in a way that you can really apply it to any context. So let's just see what it says. Mars square Neptune. During this time, most people have to deal with feelings of doubt, discouragement, and inadequacy. Also, you may find yourself unpleasantly confronted by the consequences of past actions that you hoped would simply go away. The challenge is to confront them without caving in or feeling hopeless. Whenever this transit occurs, about every 6 months in a natal chart, you will question whether you are doing what you should with your life. The temptation is to decide that you are not and to give up. Others may try to convince you that you are on the wrong course and give you very demoralizing advice. Of course, you may in fact be wrong in some area, and there you should change course, but you must avoid the tendency to cave in. Evaluate what you are doing in your own terms, not someone else's, and decide whether you are acting properly in various matters. Make the decision either way without self-recrimination, and give yourself the credit you deserve for handling it yourself. At a time like this, you may be tempted to take a devious course of action in the face of adversity. Mars-Neptune can mean deceitful actions, but taking the easy way out will not reinforce your position at all, because you will have to face even more discouraging consequences as a result. I'll let you read the rest of that. So it's mostly about just facing the problem. Like, you're going to notice, you're going to be able to tell what this thing is once it comes up on Friday. And, you know, because this is still, we're not even at the new moon yet, I think really in its Neptune, it can be letting go. If you can let go into the flow, basically, and just face the day, I think it will go as well as it can. And you'll find power in that. But definitely avoid those themes that we just read about if they show up in your personal life. They may not, but we're definitely going to see this on the world stage, you know. When the moon conjoined Mars and Neptune last July, there was all that rioting, people being really ignorant and self-righteous, in my opinion. So I would not be surprised if we saw more of that, especially with the contact to Pluto, an easy, you know, way to connect with power. It's going void, of course. And with Saturn there, you know, the authorities are going to be there. And, you know, I think the authorities basically win at this point. You know, they're connected to the nodes, the eclipse energy. So yeah, this day, really look at it as like setting up for what's going to happen with the eclipses in Gemini. I really think that could be the case, but, you know, it's Neptune, so it can show up in a lot of different ways, a lot of different contexts. What else can we say? But the Saturn being so connected to the nodes there makes me think that this authoritative, controlling way that Saturn's kind of exercising his influence over the whole space is really going to reach the culmination of where it's going for the future and how it's connected to where we're at right now. But, you know, people probably will get rowdy on this day. They probably won't know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? But, okay, so on Saturday, the moon will go into Aries, and Mercury will make the connection to the nodes. So we got this trapezoidal shape. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mercury is making the sextile to the north node. Saturn's making the sextile to the south node. So it's a very strong Mercury-Saturn energy. So that's very, very connected to very esoteric possibilities for the future as they're connected to the past. And Mercury will make the sextile to Saturn. So it's a really good thing if you're trying to do anything with Mercury or Saturn. I think it's perfect for that kind of stuff. Venus is also connected to Jupiter, so we can really bring like a huge amount of value to this Aries area of our life, and all in a way that Saturn will be able to work with. So whatever this thing that's been setting up in your Aries area of life is, I feel like you're going to get the message on this day. The value is going to come in on this day. Just let it happen, really, because we're still not even at the new moon. We're in the dark moon, so it's still, even though it's kind of setting up the stage for this new thing, it's not, the light isn't going to be on it right now. It's going to be kind of in the background, and I think Mercury Saturn is really talking about that. So do your background stuff, like work on your background, whatever Saturn's been doing in your chart, tap into that, get the message out on that. So on Sunday, the Venus will square Pluto right as the moon is making a new moon. So this new moon will be in the midst of this Venus crisis. So squares to Venus can mean like too much spending, or like excess, or money connected to power, value connected to power, but not in an easy way. So it's cardinal energy. I almost didn't record this aspect. I want to read this because, it's kind of an obscure energy, and I think we can get some insight from it, right? So Venus square Pluto. At its best, this transit can signify intense emotional experiences within a relationship. Pluto and Venus together create powerful love experiences that draw you in and change your consciousness for a time. But there is also a difficult side to this transit. You may become aware of changes occurring in a relationship to which you will be forced to accommodate. They cannot be ignored because a real breakdown in your relationship would result. In itself, change is not a bad thing, but we crave stability above all else in our relationships, and stability is not available at this time. The natural tendency is to hang on to the other person out of insecurity and try to exert greater control over the relationship. This is ultimately destructive because your partner will soon regard the relationship as smothering and restrictive. You must examine your relationship and see what needs to be changed, or accept the changes that have already occurred. It will do no good to pretend that change is not happening. Every relationship needs to grow in order to remain healthy and alive. Resist the desire to use subversive tactics to control your loved one, such as manipulating feelings of guilt or responsibility, for that will create bitterness, which finally destroy whatever goodwill exists between you. So I just wanted to include this because I forgot to record it. It's going to happen on next Sunday. It's going to happen basically right on top of the new moon in Aries. So I don't really understand what all that together means. The moon will also be on top of Mercury, so maybe the message will be ready to come out by then about what this is really about. But this could happen in a lot of different contexts. Like, this book is written for transits and relationships basically, but Venus also rules like where we're finding value, how we're enjoying things, where we're having fun. And square Pluto, we're just not going to be able to find that in a stable way. So don't expect it, if you've been able to find your value and your enjoyment in a stable way up till now, just expect that it's going to get kind of shaken up. And Mars is going to get pretty shaken up too. I don't know. We'll talk about that next week. But it's definitely very significant, isn't it? And look how close Mercury is to the sun now. Another thing I want to talk about, like, Mercury is pretty much under the beams now. So, like, even though there is this Mercury-Mars reception, we might even look back at Mercury in Pisces fondly, because Mercury wasn't under the beams and it was being ruled by, a planet with some dignity. So, have you noticed, like, the way that Venus has kind of been under the beams for, like, a month and a half? Mercury's going to be going through that same sort of energy. It's just going to show up in the way we're going here, going there, talking, ordering, yelling with Mercury and Aries. So, that message is coming up to the Sun and Venus. And Mercury is zipping along, so Mercury will not be in Aries for very long. It's only going to be about 2 weeks. Mercury goes into Taurus on the 19th, the same day the Sun goes into Taurus. So that Cazimi is going to be right there, the 0 degree of Taurus, pretty much. If it's not the 1st degree, whatever. You know. But overall, Sunday looks like a good day to get the message out. Really connected to fate, really connected to the future. It's kind of hidden, though. It's kind of under the beams. So it's kind of, this week's kind of like background energy, but it's like good. You know, we need it. Look for it. It's going to be kind of hidden. But I think if you understand these significations and you know where they are in your chart, you know, you'll be able to work with this week in a really good way. And then we'll be in the new moon from Sunday on. So, but definitely be ready for a crisis around the way we're doing things and the way that we are finding value. There's going to be a critical situation in both of them, even though they're both working pretty well together. They're being in a critical angle to these obscure forces of Pluto and Neptune. These forces that are kind of hard to perceive. They're dark. They're otherworldly in a way. So as you do these functions, which are, you know, in pretty decent dignity, except that they're under the beams, you know, understand that we're pretty much just letting go at this point, and there's going to be a critical situation with both of those areas of life by the end of the week. So you guys, thanks for listening. I always appreciate it. I'm so glad I can do these videos. And I'll be catching you on the next one, guys. So God bless you, and look to God. In Jesus' name, amen.